for another episode of Remodelers on the Rise. And I've got my friend, client, industry. Can I call you like an industry guru, Paul?
No, I'm not a
No, you
guru.
don't want that. Somebody, I will describe him, especially if you are part of Remodelers community. If you're not, if you're listening to the podcast version of this, if you go to remodelerscommunity.com, you are missing out on a very, very valuable resource for your remodeling business. But Paul is sometimes a bit of a contrarian on the way you think about some things. He is also very, very generous with his ideas and templates and time. He loves business. He loves working on business, continue to streamline, and he's okay with kind of poking the bear a little bit of saying, why do you think that way? Why don't you try this? Have you considered that? So you're this interesting combination, Paul. I don't know if anybody's ever told you that, but you are, sir.
That sounds like a polite way of saying something.
Well, you know I'm very polite. I'm not gonna say anything disparaging. Here you are investing time in this show. You have a great thing that we're going to go through today, and I do appreciate it. It's hard to label you, which is a lovely thing. You keep people on their toes. Wait a minute, I kind of want to punch that guy for being a little feisty with me on that, and then I want to give him a big hug because he just shared that golden nugget of knowledge, and I really appreciate it. So that is Paul McManus with McManus Kitchen and Bath down in beautiful and hot Florida. What does it look like down there today?
Yep.
Excellent. Paul, thank you for being a part of the show. I think you've done a couple of them, and we already have almost double-digit people signing in within a couple minutes because, one, they wanted to see you. Probably wanted to see me as well, but also because we have something real specific and practical that we're going to get into today, which is showing a very clear, detailed example of properly doing a pre-construction meeting. So to kind of kick us off, Paul, if you could maybe just talk in general how you view the lead up to the pre-construction meeting, kind of the meeting itself. What is the value of this? What is the importance of this? How has this helped you delivering well for your clients? Share a few thoughts on that. And then what we're going to do is share screen, and we're going to go just piece by piece through this. So why should people be kind of thinking about this?
So for us, the pre-construction process is critical to fulfilling the promises we make in design. So for a while, we had problems. Designers make a lot of promises. The design process, everyone loves it. I'm sure everyone does. Rave reviews, man, this is so awesome. Production always tends to fall a little short of the rave reviews. Production's harder. There's no question that it's just harder. But the pre-construction process really helps bridge the gap. And it helps some of the trust we developed in design bleed over into the beginning of production. And I really feel like it boosts client confidence in the project management team. It kind of it's a handover process
between design and sales and production.
Yeah, we like to say everyone's involved in all stages. We like to say in design, the designer drives the process, so she's in charge. In production, the production manager drives the process, but everyone helps with everything. But construction is that critical kind of handover.
Yeah, and I think from my years of coaching remodelers, from talking about this topic, I think oftentimes there is a lot of good intention of doing this handoff well. There is the knowledge of, boy, if we skip over this part or barely talk about it, things are going to get clunky. And it's one of those things, before even showing the example, that some of this is just, you got to buckle down and make sure you invest the proper amount of time to do your handoff between sales and design and production well. You need to invest the time in doing that. So without even showing anything else, that's just a good takeaway that people need to think about. And Jonathan says, thanks for taking the time to do this, Paul.
Oh, you're very welcome, man.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Good. So why don't we show, and I was kind of hemming and hawing which direction to go first, but let's go with this first. Okay. And what this one is a schedule for pre-construction. You use Builder Trend when the project is getting into the pre-construction phase. You have a template and a schedule in Builder Trend that you set up. Tell us a little bit about what we're looking at here.
Yeah, so this is just a pre-con template, standalone template we import Pre-construction, in my mind, really does start in design. So during our scope, project managers do 2 or 3 scope of work review meetings with the designers during the design process. But this is sort of our official start of pre-construction.
Time out. They sit down and do a couple scope of work meetings. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, the scope of work review meetings. So one happens right after the first design meeting. Project manager reviews the scope of work, reviews the current working drawings, redlines them, makes notes, and then meets with the designer to clarify some things, share some thoughts. It's the primary goal of that first scope of work review meeting is to get the bid language correct. So to make sure we understand the scope of work and we're writing really good bid language for our subs. So feedback from the project manager is real important on that, because after that meeting, the bids are released.
So the reason I want you to pause on that is because I think that's an area that a lot of remodelers struggle with. They're not getting their production eyes into the project early enough, and a lot of times what ends up happening is the designers are going. Everybody's excited, and we're a ways down the line in the design and development phase, and then production gets their eyes on it. And by having them review that, help with the scope of work development, that estimating and the design, I think, work a little bit more hand in hand. And I see that oftentimes where we just wait to get additional eyes into it. So I wanted just to pause there and hear how you're doing.
It's super important in my mind. Like getting those done and getting your guys to take them seriously and do them well makes a huge difference.
So what I'm seeing here is you set up a basic calendar for pre-construction in Builder Trend. It automatically creates some to-dos. We've got to finalize permit documents, submit permits, check on all orders, confirm delivery date, send check-in email number 1. The list goes on, and this gets assigned as you go along to the project manager that's going to be responsible for this project. You can adjust the dates, but it's helping you stay organized and timely with all of the pre-construction steps. Is that fair assessment?
Just a list of all the stuff that needs to get done over that 2, 4, 6 months that you're waiting for the project to start.
Yep. We've got inspect cabinets for damage. Is it permit ready? Schedule final review meeting. Request final scope of work review. Schedule pre-con meeting. That's what we're going to dig into here in a second. Send check-in email number 2. So this is just a good best practice that I think a lot of folks watching this or listening to this, if you're listening to this, if you look in the show notes, we will show you how to download a copy of this and also see the pre-construction meeting that we're going to review here in a second. So anything else that you would say on the schedule before we dig into the actual details of the pre-con meeting?
No, I mean, the schedule's pretty basic. It's just like you said, list of views and items, but it keeps everybody on track.
Yes. You say it's basic, but sometimes it's not necessarily simple, right? Having this thought out, not shooting from the hip, actually having a checklist you go through, that is what allows things to be less stressful, more organized, and go smoother.
Right. Well, that's what makes it a system. But if I didn't have that templated, my project managers would each do that whole process very differently from each other. They would probably both do fine. They're both smart guys, but they would be very different experiences.
There you go.
So the calendar just helps make it all uniform experience.
Cool. All right. So what we're looking at here is pre-construction meeting, SOP, and questions. The pre-construction meeting is run by the project manager. In Paul's case, he has 2 project managers. The project manager is to schedule the meeting, set the agenda, invite everyone needed to the meeting, and make sure the meeting prep is done before the meeting. And here's an example of an email, nice little email template. This is one of his project managers. And hey, we would like to schedule a pre-construction meeting with you next week to go over a few things and verify measurements. I'll be coming out with our designer, and I would expect the meeting to take about 90 minutes. Click here to schedule the pre-construction meeting. Does that go to a Calendly link?
Yeah, Acuity, the same thing.
Yeah. Acuity link. Okay. If you have any trouble scheduling, let us know. We can schedule over the phone instead. Here's what we would like to go over: work hours and house access, etc. Job site setup and dust protection plan, builder trend review. Please let us know if you have any questions. Folks, this is organized. It's a template. It's simple. It is showing these people this is not the first rodeo. This is something that builds know, like, and trust as we move into the production phase. This is the start of a good handoff to the client who, look, this is their project manager. This is their main point of contact after working with the design team all the way up to this. So I think this is a great example. Cool. Anything else you'd add to that?
No, I mean, we template it so that's the same every time, but yeah, that's it.
I feel like we're hearing templates, we're hearing processes, etc. All right, so walk us through what we see in this before the pre-con meeting and kind of the top of this where it says at the pre-con meeting. How do they kind of approach this? What is kind of the objective and the goal of this?
Um, it's probably been 4 months or 6 months or something since the last scope of, since the contract was signed. Everyone tends to forget what the project is about. So one goal is to reintroduce ourselves to the client, get them ramped up for the project, prepared for, what they're going to have to deal with and how we're going to do things. It's also a chance for the project manager to refresh his memory about what's happening, make some notes about questions we can check on site, etc. And then
how far in advance? How far in advance is this?
2.5 weeks prior to job start.
Okay.
Is what we shoot for. Yeah.
Can you say that for the people in the back that weren't really listening to that? How many days or weeks before the first day of demo, etc., is this happening?
Yeah, 14 days is our goal.
14 days. 14 days. Folks, I will take a job that's starting on Monday and you doing this on the previous Friday. I will take that if I have to. But what you heard there is if you can do this a week to 2 weeks ahead of time, it's just going to go so much smoother. Things will be planned out. You have to invest time and energy into this to do it properly. But it is not earth-shattering. It's not that complicated. But it's making it a priority and this is how we work.
Yeah. Well,
far too many remodelers are waiting until the very last minute to discuss these, or they're not discussing these things at all. Go ahead.
There's a reason, again, not only is, yes, doing it in advance is great, but we release our purchase orders to our subs right after this meeting. So the idea is you're going there, you're reviewing the scope of work. It's your final chance to look for anything that we might have missed that could impact the scope of work on the job. Then we go update our purchase orders for our subs for any last minute relevant information, and we release them all. So and that serves as a reminder to our subs, like, hey, you've got this job coming up. That way they're prepared, we're prepared. And then after this is when we have a digital job folder and a paper job folder. After this meeting is when the final update to the paper job folder happens as well. So they'll take that paper job folder out with them, they'll mark it up, redline it, and then we'll do a final update to that so that everything's ready to go for job start.
Excellent. As you guys are listening to this, if you're listening to this live, if you have questions, type it in the comments. We'll answer them. So we've got some before the pre-con meeting. We're reviewing that job site folder, reviewing selections, material POs with warehouse manager. Have all items arrived? You literally have to check that box off in order to say you've done that. We need to make a list of questions, things to verify, send an email to all attendees with agenda. One thing I was asking Paul, I said, are people actually checking these boxes off? And he goes, well, once they get this completed, they upload it to the daily log and builder trend. And guess who? Paul will do some spot checking or do some reviewing of going, wait, this wasn't checked off. That wasn't checked off. What's going on? Or you review it and you see that everything was followed and then you're happy, Paul.
Yeah, this is a common mistake new project managers will make is they'll Christmas tree all of our checklists. We have checklists for every trade. They'll Christmas tree it, and that's fine. You want to do that?
What does Christmas tree mean?
You just run through it and check off the boxes without
okay.
really reading or paying attention to what you're doing.
Yes.
Well, Paul wants this done, so I'm just gonna get it done.
Yeah.
Which is, that's fine. You can do that. But inevitably what happens is 2 or 3 weeks later, an issue comes up. And I says, well, we have that on a checklist. Was that checklist not completed? And we go back and we look, it's in the daily log. And I say, yeah, you checked off right here. All plumbing valves in the right location. But this one now we find out 2 weeks later isn't. What's going on? And it's, it bites them. And then the Christmas tree tends to go away. But so the nice thing about the checklist is it does help with follow-up quite a bit.
Absolutely. And things that we just forget about. So, all right, the pre-con meeting starts. We're going to sit down, dining room table. We're going to place this on a clipboard. We're going to open up the job folder. We're going to go through it together. And even just this, so much of remodeling is setting proper expectations. Little things. Running a successful remodeling business is about doing a lot of little things right. And when we know the entry procedure, key, garage code, are they okay with giving us the garage code? How are the payments going to be made, ACH or check? Reviewing the payment schedule again, brilliant. Maybe even talking about how the change order process works. Main person to contact, bathroom to use. It's not a big deal, except it is to some people. Rooms to avoid, very good thing to ask. It shows that we're got great attention to detail. What about work orders, hours? What about general schedule for people in the home? Where to put the cork board? And then this one here, what is this one about, Paul? Do preliminary pre-existing damage inspection with the client and take pictures.
Yeah, we basically walk through the job area, the path from the entry to the job area, outside, and we just look for any pre-existing dings, nicks, cracked concrete. Common ones are like front door. Like if the front door is pristine, then we need to know that now because we'll protect it. If the front door is dinged up anyway, we're still going to protect it, but it's nice to know and to remind the client like that this is the state of your front door.
They will never have looked so closely at their home than when the project's going on / when you're wrapping up. And if we don't take the time, listen carefully, guys and gals, if you don't take the time to document pre-existing damage, what are you going to end up doing? If you get in a he said, she said argument, the client's going to win and you're going to just eat it and you're going to get profits taken away and it's going to eat into your gross profit for no reason other than you didn't take the time to do the pre-con properly. So that's one that might be a takeaway that some people have. Just do a nice pre-existing damage inspection. Make sure we're documenting that, upload that to wherever you have your pictures. Discuss personal items to be removed, work area rules, brilliant, needed to discuss. This gives people peace of mind and it gives everybody on the team clarity of what to expect. So even just those things that we've covered so far are very valuable. Somebody said, will these templates be available? Paul, you posted this in the remodelers community. Are you okay if other remodelers ask and want to see this?
Yeah, you can put it in the vault if you want. That's fine.
Wonderful. If you go to remodelers with an S, remodelers vault, FAULT.com, there's all kinds of beautiful templates in there. See what I said earlier? Well, Paul's sometimes feisty, and then he's like the most generous guy you'll ever meet. That's an example of it. Somebody asked, does checklisting, quote unquote, take place in Builder Trend?
No, some does, but I like paper checklists, which is contrary to how I basically do everything else in the entire company. But I find for a project manager on site, it just works better. Physically talking to a client and being able to write better than you look like you're on the phone all the time if you're on a digital system. So I kind of like it. But we
they're still taking a picture and uploading it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just like that process better. I could see it working as a checklist and digitally. I just like the paper. Yeah.
Good. Keep asking questions, guys. So the first section, general, sit down with client, confirm these items. Number 2, exterior job site setup with the client. Walk outside and review. Where are we going to park? Where is our trailer going to be? Draw a map if needed. Where not to park. Porta potty location if we have that going. Exteriors. I mean, just that, Paul, and that's why I kind of want to pause there. Like, a lot of remodelers don't do that. And if I'm sitting here with a project manager and you're asking me those questions, you are so stinking impressive, proactive, and it is just setting up the project for so much more success. So many issues that your clients have or that they're struggling with are just things that could be avoided, or it's kind of annoying to them, but they're not going to mention it. When we're going through this, we get rid of a lot of those little annoying things that could pop up during the project. Client satisfaction improves when we do this. Do you agree?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a little passionate about this, Paul. Exterior setup and cleanup. What landscaping are we going to protect? Where are we going to put the tile saw? What about paint and thin set? Wood saws. Okay to use the garage for material storage for cutting. If you don't have that checkbox, you will not remember to ask that. And you know what will happen? You'll ask that when you arrive, and they're going to not have prepared the garage, and then you're going to move stuff, and then they're kind of going to be feeling the pressure to let you use the garage even though they didn't want to, right? It just, all of that stuff happens. And then what about the electrical panel? Try to note breakers that affect work area. Water shutoff location at street, at well, brilliant. Where's the gas shut off? air filter sizes and locations. Tell me about that air filter sizes and locations. Why do you want to know that?
Oh, so we will replace the air return filter a couple
Mm.
times during the project, but we
So I was hoping you were
also,
going to say.
if the demo is particularly messy, we'll tape an additional filter over the return. So it's kind of two purposes: one for replacement, but two so that we can buy a bigger one and install
Yeah.
it over the return.
Now, how do we remember to change out the air filter during the production process? Do we have a checklist for that?
It's a to-do and builder trend, yeah.
Beautiful. Right. So there's an example, and I'll pause there again. Folks, this is not like, I think when people see this, when they see how the builder trend thing's set up, they think this is just so impressive, and so much work to create. No, checklists are not that complicated. Pull out a blank sheet of paper or pull out a document and start typing the things that you naturally ask. Create first version of it. Use it on your next project. Obviously, you can swipe this one too, and just make it better over time. This is not that complicated. But what is complicated is having a system to make sure that you remember to do these things. So we have a to do in the production calendar that says replace air filter. And if my project manager has that automatically pop up and have to check it off, that is going to happen 98% of the time at McManus Kitchen and Bath. It's going to happen 32% of the time at a remodeler that doesn't have it in a checklist form. That's going to naturally happen. So fight for creating more checklists and more simple processes and systems. It is every minute you spend on it, remodeler, is a minute very well spent that's going to pay you back project after project, year over year. And Paul, I think you've realized that and seen, if I'm going to take responsibility off my shoulders and have team members that execute this without it all coming through me, this is the ticket to doing that. Anything else you'd say to that?
The key thing you mentioned is like these things improve over time.
Hmm.
So it often happens later on in the project. You get to a point where you realize, wow, we really should have taken care of that during pre-construction. Remembering to go back and update that list is a critical part of the process. And that really, the project manager, of course, should remember that, but they've got a lot on their plate. It really kind of falls back on the owner, operations manager, whomever, to kind of follow up on that too.
Yeah.
And
And
just say,
constantly have that drumbeat of, hey, do we have anything to update? Or when something comes up and they're like, oh man, we screwed this up. Time out before we do anything else. Let's make sure we fix this for next time.
yeah,
That's leadership. That's consistent improvement. We got pets section. Where will they be kept? Special instructions. How many children? We don't want to lose any children, so we need to ask how many children they have. But even safety issues are concerned. I'm thinking of friends of mine who have maybe a special needs child or something like that, and to ask how many children, is there any safety issues or concerns that might come up, and it may impact the way that we interact with that child, our patience level. Our team needs to know these things. Or they're just young kids and we need to be aware of it. It also gives our project manager an opportunity to talk about how important it is to stay clear and to be safe and what that looks like on our jobs. So then number 3 is interior setup. Attach demo plan and scope of work to clipboard. What would you say about the interior setup? What's kind of some of the most important items in here?
well, this is job site protection. So this is day one, how our demo crew is going to set up and protect the job site. So they have the demo plan and they're literally highlighting dust barrier goes here, ram board goes here, et cetera, et cetera. Because
Awesome.
when the demo crew shows up the next morning or in a couple of weeks, they're going to start doing that setup probably before my project manager's on site. So it's really just to talk through it, make sure they have a good guideline so they can start to set up without us.
Love it. RAM board, this is in red. RAM board must be replaced every 2 to 3 weeks or tape will stick. Why is that in red? It feels like maybe we screwed that up or something.
Yeah, it's just something that's one of those things that tends not to get done. So it's just on there as a reminder.
Talking about what items we're going to save, how we're going to approach that, and then complete pre-existing damage checklist and review with client. Save. This will be updated again on day 1 of project setup. So again, really highlighting that. So we've gone through at the pre-con meeting, before the pre-con meeting, at the pre-con meeting, all of the general things, the exterior side, the interior side. And then before leaving the property, we want to take pictures of interior and exterior. especially any scratched or damaged items. We want to do a daily log before leaving. Attach this spread checklist. Give a brief description of what was discussed. Attach pictures. Create any to-dos needed from the daily log. So often, if we can train our team and we can be more disciplined ourselves to do this, finish a meeting strong and properly. If we wait and we just move on to the next thing before creating those to-dos, we're going to forget things. If we can be disciplined to do these things before moving on to the next thing, it just reduces noise and stress and, oh, I got to get back and do that. So hopefully that lands. And then what about after the pre-con meeting? What are some of the things that you guys do after the pre-con meeting?
Like I said, well, that's when they update the final updates for the scope of work and job folder. Yep. So he's going to sit down with the designer, kind of go over the pre-con meeting. Sometimes the designer will be at the pre-con, so this meeting might not be necessary, but sometimes they're not. Sometimes subs are there, sometimes not. Every job is a little different.
Okay.
So they update, like he's going to take that demo plan and kind of highlight it and make notes of how we're going to set up. The designer's going to take it and redo it, make it look nice, and print it out again so it's in our job folder correctly. This is the last time they update the job calendar. So they've gone over the calendar with the client. At this point in time, the client often remembers things like, oh, we're going to be out of town this weekend, or, oh, I've got a birthday party on this day. So we'll update the calendar. And then this is when we start confirming all of our subs, is right after this meeting.
Got
it. The subs they have a date from contract signing, but of course that was 6 months ago. Right. So now this is when we're officially saying, like, hey, remember that job we said was starting on Tuesday 6 months ago? Well, it's actually going to start on Tuesday. So
got it. And we've prepped them a few weeks prior as well when we did the POs. Well, I guess that's this time, isn't it? We're still a few weeks out from it. Okay.
We release bids prior to that, so they get bids. That's an accurate date. Then they get POs released. That's an accurate date. For some subs, like everyone knows, they got a few subs that are super busy. Mm-hmm. Like our electricians tend to stay 3-4 weeks booked up. So the project managers know to contact them a little early.
Gotcha.
But for the majority of our subs, like 2 or 3 weeks is fine. They already know about when they're going to be doing the job, so they're pretty good.
Excellent. So anybody else watching live, any other questions that you have, we'd be happy to answer them. It's just a very nice, thorough. Now, you said something before we started recording that I thought would be good to kind of mention. You said, I like this. It's not the be all end all. Like if I was more of a one-man band, if I was kind of a smaller operation, I don't know if I would need to have this thorough of a checklist. You kind of mentioned, making sure that, people don't think, well, I have to do this. You want to elaborate on that a little bit, or some of your contrarian thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, I just think there's always a time and place for every system, and so you want to prioritize. If you're a 1 or 2 man show or woman show, this might be more work than the benefit. You know what I mean? You might just use a much simpler process. A one-man show, if you got 25 years, 20 years, 15 years experience and you're doing this, you probably do all these things intuitively. Now, if you want to grow your business, you have to codify these things at some point so that you can teach other people. But I just always am a little wary when people see it. We see shiny things as owners and modelers. Like, wow, I should be doing that. And it distracts you from the priority list of things that would really have a bigger impact on your business.
Yeah.
So that was really my point. So.
Yeah, I like that. And I think even, I remember early in my business before, I started by getting kind of a overseas virtual assistant. And even before that, when I was literally doing everything myself, I'm like, well, why would I create a checklist for that onboarding? I just know. And then what I quickly realized is it's a lot less brain power, even if I'm doing it, to have a list in front of me and be able to check it off. It just goes smoother, easier. And even if you're absolutely brilliant like me, occasionally you might forget things, right? But the last thing you said is very, very well noted. Yes, you just watch this, whoever you are. Or yes, you just listen to this. That doesn't necessarily mean, even if you need to work on this, it doesn't necessarily mean that is your most important on the business thing that you need to be focused on. This could be a good, solid parking lot item. It is a good idea, and I need to work on it, but I'm not working on it right now because I have some other things that are more important. Now, you should get the link to where this is. You should set up some kind of reminder so that you're reminded a month or two from now to see if it makes sense to tackle it then. But that you make a good point of making sure we're not doing too many things all at once. More focus on fewer things is how we
But
make better
also,
progress.
it also could be very simple. Like, just schedule a meeting. You don't need the list. You just walk into the meeting and you start talking to your client and things come up. That's one way to do it. That's
Right.
better
That's a
than
good
doing
start.
nothing. And then over
Yeah.
time, you say, you know what? I should write some of this stuff down because I keep forgetting. You know.
Triple J here, Jonathan J. Janacek. Triple J. I don't know if anybody's ever called you Triple J, but that's your new nickname, my friend.
Good nickname.
The more you have written down, the more likely you are going. The more likely you are going to repeat the process and not miss any steps. Absolutely.
Very true.
Absolutely. And somebody else, you'd have to go to StreamYard.com/Facebook so you can let us see your pretty picture, but said, thanks, Paul. This is great. Awesome.
You're very welcome.
Anything else that that you would add, Paul, as we kind of wrap up this little half-hour Remodelers on the Rise show?
No, but that's it. That's the process. Like I said, it's simple. What did you say? It's simple but not easy, or it's easy but not simple.
Yeah, a lot of times.
But yeah, it's the more you prepare. It's you're just 5Ping your project. That's all.
Yeah, what does 5P stand for, Paul?
Boy, you put me on the spot.
Yeah, I won't do that to you because you've been
preparation prevents poor performance.
Pretty stinking good.
Close.
Proper preparation. You have a mug. You got that mug. Just write it in.
Yeah.
Proper preparation prevents poor performance, and that's a big example. It's kind of summarizes what we just covered here today. And then for our close here, I mentioned everybody should have one main thing they're working on the business on right now. What would that be for Paul J. McManus? What are you? What's kind of your on the business thing that you're sinking your teeth into these days?
Oh, we're starting to do a revamp of our marketing, kind of our marketing sales process. So new GBB presentation. Our marketing's always been very content based, and we're trying to think about different types of marketing we could do. We've been getting a lot of feedback lately from clients of there's some literally this is what they say. I can't believe there's a company like yours in Tallahassee. And I go, what do you mean? I mean, just someone who does things like this, like it's awesome. I don't know why I've never heard of you. And I'm like, gosh darn it. I don't know why either.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to think more about how we can reach people outside of Google search and content generation.
Interesting.
That's a big push.
Yeah, and I like that for you. Your marketing has been working. If you go to McManusKitchenandBath.com, you'll see some very interesting ways that he features his projects. He's got pricing on there and examples. You spent a lot of time wordsmithing it, how people fill out the contact form. Very heavy content-based marketing that has worked for SEO. But what I like about it is that, okay, we're not going to necessarily throw that out, but let's make sure it's not getting stale. Let's make sure we're not getting complacent. Let's make sure that we're thinking about what new layer we're going to add on to our marketing or a new way of presenting it. So way to not be just kind of, and not that I would expect anything less from you, Paul. Let's not get stuck with what we've been doing. Let's continue to improve and tweak and move forward.
Yeah.
Excellent. What's that logo on your shirt?
Oh, it's nothing. It's just some random.
Well, it's got to be something.
It's not. It's just some artist made it. It's just literally nothing. It's just literally just a design.
Okay. Yeah. Sometimes you ask those questions, and there could have been like this amazing story, or it could be like, I don't know, I just saw it in the store and I bought it.
I subscribed to a T-shirt service for a while. Different artists just made shirts, and they would just send you one a month. And this was one of the shirts. What made you?
Once
you got so many shirts,
What made you sign up for that, and then what made you quit it?
Too many T-shirts is why I quit. I mean, after a certain point in time, how many T-shirts does a guy need? And I didn't have enough T-shirts is why I signed up. And I don't really like branded stuff.
Yeah.
Like I don't wear Ford shirts or I don't team shirts. That's not my thing. So the idea that it was an artist creating something unique appealed to me.
Well, I love the design. Somebody said.
Yeah. Thanks again, mysterious Facebook user.
The mysterious Facebook user. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. Yeah. Good stuff. And
always a pleasure. Thanks for all that you do. Best group on the internet.
And all of the interwebs, folks. You heard it here first.
Certainly in remodeling, but I would say probably close to the whole internet.
There we go. Thanks, Paul.